We're going on with question 7 of paper 1 of June 2024. 7.1. 6 years ago, Tabu bought a phone for 13,000 Rand. The value of the phone depreciated annually according to the reducing balance method. The value of the phone is now 8,337 Rand and 75 cents. Calculate the annual rate of depreciation. So we are given information that we are using the reducing balance method. So that's the one that looks like compound interest. We know that the value of the phone at the start was 13,000 Rand, and the current value of the phone is 8,337 Rand and 75 cents. We don't know the value of I, but we know this happened 6 years ago. So N is equal to 6. So the first thing that I would do is I would divide this amount of 8,000 Rand with 13,000 Rand. And that gives me a decimal value, which is equals to 1 minus I to the power of 6. Now, in financial mathematics, you need to keep all the decimal values up until the end of your calculation. Only round off in your answer. Next, I'll take the root of 6 on both sides of the equation. On the right-hand side, I'll be left with 1 minus I, and on the left, another decimal value. Now, in order to solve for I, I'll move I to the right, and that becomes positive I, and I'll move the decimal value to the left. So it will be 1 minus 0.92 and all the decimal values, and that answer becomes 0.0713 with some decimal values. Now, in order to answer the question, they said calculate the annual rate. So I is not the rate. In order to find the rate, I need to multiply I with 100. And that simplifies to 7.14%. 7.2. Eric and Tundi needs to save 80,000 Rand each to go on a holiday at the end of December 2027. Tundi decides that she will start saving at the end of January 2025. She will make 36 monthly deposits into the savings account that pays 8.6% per annum compounded monthly. The deposit will be made at the end of each month. Eric calculates that if he makes 48 deposits of 1,402 Rand starting at the end of January 2024, he will have enough money to go on holiday. He will make his deposits into the savings account at the end of each month. The savings account pays an interest of 8.6% per annum compounded monthly. Calculate the difference between the total amount that Eric and Tundi will deposit into their respective savings account. We know that they want 80,000 Rand somewhere in the future, and the information on Tundi is that she would pay or make 36 deposits, so that is an end value of 36. We don't know the size of her deposits, but we know that her interest rate is 8.6% compounded monthly. Eric will make 48 payments. We know the size of his payments, so that is 1,402 Rand. And he also earns the same amount of interest. Now, to find the total amount that Eric has put into the savings account, we can take his monthly payment times 48. So let's call that Eric, and his total is 48 times 1,402 Rand. So Eric pays 67,310 Rand and 88 cents into his savings account. Now for Tundi, we know that she would save 80,000 Rand. We know the end value, but we don't know what's the size of her deposits. So we first need to find the value of x and then take that answer and multiply that by 36 to get her total payments in the same way as we did with Eric. So let's do Tandi's calculation. Tandi will earn money in the future, so it's a future value annuity. And you can find this formula on your formula sheet. So for the F value, we have 80,000 Rand. We don't know X. We know that I is 8.6%, and that's compounded monthly. Now be careful, the N value is 36. It's not 36 times 12. Over our I value of 0.086 divided by 12. So what I do is I take the 8.6% and I convert that to a decimal value and I divide it by 12 to show the compoundings. Now you can use your calculator to solve for x. So to solve this equation, I have an x value of 1,955 Rand and 78 cents. Therefore, Tandi's total, let's call it Tandi's total, is 1,955 Rand and 78 cents times 36, and that leads to a total of 70,408 Rand and 8 cents. Now let's quickly go back to the question. It says, calculate the difference between the total amount of Eric and Tandi. So we have Eric's total and we have Tandi's total. So the difference is simply the difference between those two values. So we'd say 70,408.08 minus 67,310.88. And our final answer then is 3,097 Rand and 20 cents. 7.3. Lesibana was granted a loan of 225,000 Rand. The rate of interest for the loan is 9% per annum, compounded monthly. Lesibana will make monthly payments of 5,500 Rand, starting exactly 4 months after the loan was granted. How many payments will Lesibana make to settle the loan? So from the question, we know we are working with the P formula from our formula sheet. We have our interest rate of 0.09 divided by 12, so that is I. We have our payments, which is 5,500 Rand. And then we know the starting amount of the loan is 225,000 Rand. But the first payment was only made exactly 4 months after the granting of the loan. And we want to find the number of payments that we need to make. So let us start by writing down the correct formula from our formula sheet. We have P is equals to X multiplied with 1 minus, and in brackets 1 plus I to the power of negative N divided by I. Now we need to be careful. The P value is not 225,000 Rand, but it's actually 225,000 Rand that earns 3 months of interest. So remember, when you start a payment 4 months after the granting of the loan, the first month creates a little gap. So we have our gap, and then the first payment would be on month 4. So we don't count the first payment that we've missed, and therefore we have missed 3 payments. On the right-hand side, we have X as 5,500. Then in brackets, we have our I value as 0.09 compounded monthly. We don't know what N is. That's what we need to solve. Over 0.09 divided by 12. Also notice on the left-hand side, I'm taking the interest rate and I'm dividing that by 12 because I'm compounding monthly. But I'm only raising it to the power of 3 because I missed 3 payments. Now, if you manipulate the equation slightly by multiplying out on the left-hand side and multiplying that result of 0.09 over 12 and then dividing by 5,500, we have on the right hand side the brackets, which is 1 minus 1 plus 0.09 divided by 12 to the power of minus n. And on the left we have a decimal. Now remember, in financial mathematics we do not round up until the end or up until we have our final answer. Next, what I would do is I would move this little section in our right hand side to the left, and I'll say 1 minus the decimal value. So on the right on the left I'll have 1 plus 0.09 over 12 in brackets raised to the power of negative n. Notice it was negative on the right hand side, but on the left it will be positive. And now it's 1 minus 0.31, which leads to 0.686. And again, I'm keeping all the decimal places up until my final solution. Now, in order to find negative n, I'll take the log of my bracket, which is 1 plus 0.09 divided by 12, and the contents of my log is that 0.68. And when I simplify that, I have negative n as negative 50.39. Therefore, n is equals to 50.39. Now, the question was, how many payments will Lesibana make to settle the loan? So she's going to make 50 full payments, and then there's a little bit still outstanding. So therefore, Lesibana will make 51 payments. Thank you for watching. Remember to show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to Mathenatic.